Hey everyone. For a long time I was a teacher. I taught at a college level, and one of the things that I found most of my students coming up against on a pretty regular basis was the idea of limiting beliefs. And if you think about it, back to when you were really, really young, you probably had a teacher who told you something about yourself. And it's important to notice that limiting behaviors don't necessarily have to be negative, but you might have had a teacher who said, you're just not good at this. Or, you had an experience where it led you to believe, hey, I'm just not good at this. I noticed that a lot of people get into their adulthood and have the belief that they're not good at math. That seems to be a pretty common one. Or public speaking seems to be another one. Public speaking, I think a lot of it has to do with fear as well. But you might have had some sort of an experience that led you to believe that you just weren't good at that, or that you didn't want to do it. And those limiting beliefs later in life, they limit you. They make it so that you can't see past them to do other things. One of the things that I was taught, and this is going to be in a positive realm, but with negative consequences, is that when I was in first grade, I had a teacher named Mrs. Cox, and she was this really small, older lady, white curly hair. I can still remember her walking around the classroom. Was a portable at the school that I was at. And I remember her telling me she had, I think, one or both of my siblings, and so she knew my family pretty well. But she looked at me and she said, Travis, you are really good at taking tests. You're going to do really well on tests. And you might think that was a pretty good thing for her to tell me, and it was. I definitely did really well on tests, but I noticed that later in life, particularly as I got into college, one of the things that it did is it made me not study as well for tests. And it made me not study as well for tests because I didn't need to. I was good at tests. And interestingly enough, I usually did pretty well on tests, but honestly I could have done better, and I could have retained a lot more information had I done a lot more studying. And so it's difficult to look at those beliefs and realize what the consequences are going to be later in life. So another one for me, not in the realm of education, but when I was growing up, I was a big kid. I was what was considered husky at the time. And even I remember my mom taking me to either Sears or JCPenney, I can't remember which, potentially both. And we had to shop in the husky kids department because I was a big kid. And I was always taught growing up by my parents, it's okay, you're a big kid, you're big boned, those things. Well, as I got into being an adult, it really made it so that I didn't really try to be anything but. And what that led to is, as a slightly post-30s, I'm a pretty tall guy as well, about 6'5", and I got to the point where I was probably about 325 pounds. So even at 6'5", it's a pretty big dude. And I still had this belief that I was a husky guy. I was big boned. And so I didn't really have a lot of hope, I guess, for not being a big guy until I had a health scare. Pretty minor, but I went to my doctor and was diagnosed with high blood pressure. And that was something that I didn't, they were going to put me on blood pressure medication, which is something that I didn't want. And, but I knew that in order for me to be around and do the things that I wanted to do with my family, something had to change. And that was one of the things that was really, really difficult. I went on the blood pressure medication. I was okay for a long time, but I always had the idea of, I don't want to be on the medication for a really long time. Because that wasn't health. That wasn't something that I wanted to do. And it didn't really improve necessarily the quality of things. I was still a big guy, even though my blood pressure was okay. And so I started to look at things. I started to look at my lifestyle. I started to look at, the things that I was doing in my life that were causing me to continue to be a big guy. And I had other limiting beliefs that were causing me problems. One of them was that I didn't ever want to leave food on the table. The clean your plate idea. It's a limiting belief. If you're not hungry, why are you cleaning your plate? You might have the starving kids in Africa. You can keep leftovers. It's fine. You keep them in the fridge and eat them at a later time. But I would do the same thing for my kids. If my kids would leave something on their plate, I would finish it. So essentially, I wasn't just cleaning my plate, but I was cleaning theirs too. And that was leading me, that belief, that idea was leading me to eat way more than I needed to, and way more of the wrong types of things. And so I went about that for maybe about a year on the blood pressure medication until I realized that I needed a change in lifestyle. I didn't need a change in diet necessarily. I mean, I did. And that was one of the things that changed, but mostly I needed to change the way I was thinking about things. And so I found a program that ended up working for me to help me change my lifestyle. But really the thing that it did the most was it helped me change my beliefs. It helped me realize that I didn't have to be a big guy, that while I can't change the fact that I'm 6'5", I don't have to be 325 pounds. I don't have to have those things that stop me from being able to run around with my kids. I don't have to clean their plates. I don't have to eat this. I don't have to eat that. All of those things that I had been taught and had, kind of up in my head, I didn't have to do those things anymore. As a result, I went on this 11-month long thing where my goal weight was to get down to 215 pounds. And I knew that by changing my lifestyle and going about doing these things, there was a sleep component and a diet component and, drinking a certain amount of water and, all sorts of things that I did. And it wasn't necessarily the things that I did that changed me. They helped. It was changing that belief that led me to be able to make those changes and come out the way that I am. So in 11 months time, I got down, I lost over 100 pounds and I got off the blood pressure medication. And then after that, I started to look into other things. I went to a whole food plant-based diet, just because I was looking for the way to make myself the most healthy that I could think of for my kids, and it has worked for me. For about 4 years now, I've kept my weight at around 200 pounds consistently for 4 years, and it doesn't matter what I eat, within the bounds of my current lifestyle. I can eat as much as I want of the things that I normally eat, and I'm fine because the things that I eat are clean and healthy, and they work for me. But again, it's the belief, those beliefs, and I'll try and find a picture that I can put up here to kind of show you. Unfortunately, I didn't take a picture right before I started, when I was at probably about 325 pounds. But before I started, I never would have known that I could do this, because I'm a husky guy, and that's what I was always told. And once I was able to change that and realize that I could be healthy, that I could change things and do things in a different way, it allowed me to make those changes, and it allowed them to stick. And now I'm much more skeptical of the things that I eat. I check everything that I eat. I make sure that I'm paying attention to sleep time, to mobility, making sure I can still get around and get exercise. I do simple things like take the stairs, or I have a standing desk so that I'm up and about. Just little things that I have changed have allowed me to make that stick. So I went from having the limiting belief of thinking I'm a big guy and I'm never going to be able to be anything else, to I can be healthy and I can live a life that I want to live, that will allow me to have the actual type of lifestyle that I want. So in that, and back to when I was a teacher, I found a lot of people who were unable to progress, who were unable to do their schooling and do their schooling well because they just weren't able to get past those limiting beliefs. They'd been told that they were a nobody, that they were never going to be successful for their entire lives, and they had such a hard time. And so one of the things that we had to work on first off was changing that mindset. You can do this. And you can do this because you've got support, you've got the right brain for it. All we need to do is change the way that you think about it. And I was able to help hundreds of students get past those ideas and those beliefs and be successful in school. And it was so gratifying to see those people at the end of their programs realize that they had succeeded in something that they didn't think that they could do. And it was amazing. It was awesome. I loved it. And that's what I continue to do now. So I talked about in my previous video, I'm a life coach now. And one of the things that I want to do is to help people figure out what those limiting beliefs are. Where are you stuck? Where would you like to move and make a change? And how can I help you to do that? One of the things that I do for my clients is we find those beliefs, we kind of dissect them, and then we make a plan for how to move forward, to change the beliefs, to change how you think about your life and who you are, and how can we go about making you into the person that you actually want to be. To do that, we got to get rid of those beliefs, whatever they are. And limiting beliefs can come from anywhere. They can come from your parents, they can come from your religion, they can come from friends, they can come from yourself, from an experience that you had that you solidified a belief and you can't get past it. So let me know if you have something like that. I'd love to help. There's nothing better than being able to help someone encounter one of those beliefs and help them to fix it, help them to get past it, put in a new belief, and start to move forward. Again, my contact information is below, and I really hope to be able to help you and continue to watch these videos, and hopefully I can help you to find some of those beliefs, figure them out, and I'll continue to tell my stories and those of people that I've helped over the years, and hopefully those can help you out as well. Thanks a bunch, and don't forget to love wastefully.